Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, discussing all things audiobooks with the authors that write the stories and the narrators that perform them. Brought to you by Viviana, Enchantress of Books.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 4 of the Audiobook Lovin Podcast. Today, I am chatting with the extremely talented voiceover actor and narrator, Tara Langella. Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Viviana, and I'm so excited to be here chatting with you today.
I am so excited, too. We have so much to catch up on and talk about, because you've been a busy lady, too.
Yes, yes. You too. Oh my gosh. You are the audiobook goddess. You're floating around, you're interviewing everyone. I mean, you are doing a lot of stuff. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I love what I do, and it provides me the opportunity to talk to awesome folks like you. So I was like, it's just so much. So why don't we start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into voiceover acting and narration, and the whole shebang.
It was a very long time ago in 1882, and it was a long. I think Lincoln was president. It was a very long time ago. And I started, as a little kid, I loved to perform. So, of course, I got into the theater, and it was, I was a theater kid. I went to shows all the time, and went to Broadway shows. I started studying theater. It's all I wanted to do was be like on the stage doing live theater. And, that's pretty much how I started. I started working in like repertory companies. I went to school for theater. And then I heard a phenomenal production I'm a Shakespeare fanatic. I love Shakespeare. And I firmly believe that Shakespeare is the foundation for everything that you do as an actor. I think if you can do that, and you've probably heard other actors say the same thing, do Shakespeare, you can do anything. And I heard this production of Othello, which was done. It was an audio production. Now we're going back a few years now. I think they were called books on tape then, children. Books on tape. They were actually on like cassette tapes. And I heard this and I was like, oh, it took me to a whole other level. Of just, I could not believe what I was hearing. And it was really intense for me because the language and the musicality, everything that evoked in me just from hearing these actors' voices. They didn't have the physicality. I couldn't, rely on that. And so what that did is it kind of opened something up in me so I could listen to their performances. But then in my imagination, it took me to a whole other level. And I was like, I want to do this. I really want to do this. And I did. I started doing, voiceover. And I remember when I booked my first commercial, I think it was for Kemper Auto Insurance. And I went into the studio and I was like, this is amazing. I just was like, it was such a high. I didn't think anything could make me feel that way. It felt to be on a stage in front of a live audience, but it did. And I love the freedom. Like I said, the freedom the voice gives you. You're not, trapped or by any kind of physicality. I can play anything. I can play a creature, I can play a little girl. I can play, an older woman. I can play, pretty much, within my wheelhouse and, within range, anything I want. And I love that. I absolutely love that. So that's how I started. That's how I got into it. And then I just started doing more and more voiceover work and less theater. I still love. I absolutely love it being live, but voiceover is really it for me. Like I just love being behind the mic.
Yeah, I've noticed that you get this like gleam in your eye and even in your voice when you've talked about projects that you're doing or been on and all the excitement, and you can it's still fun for you.
Oh God, Viviana, I'm obsessed. And I think you have to be in this business. You have to be obsessed with it. You have to love it. And because you are, especially if you're doing, whatever it is, whether you're narrating or you're doing video games or you're doing, animation, all of it, you're spending a lot of the time auditioning, right? So you're auditioning a lot, so you have to love it. You have to love that process. not just the end result of, oh, I got to work, I've got to work, I've got to work, I've got to work. You have to enjoy every single part of it, because that's, that's part of the industry is getting out there and auditioning. And I love every part of it. I really, really do. I mean, I think the process of creating the characters is really what's the most fun. Once the project is out, and you're proud of it and you love it. It's like, all right, here we go. It's time to give birth to another character now. Let's find out who she is. Ooh, this is going to be exciting. Who is she?
That is true, because in someone like you that does a lot of videos and voiceover and, cartoons and animation and stuff like that, you still want to keep each character slightly different versus you kind of want them second guessing. Is that Tara? Is that, versus, oh yeah, that's Tara.
That's
which
her.
is not a bad thing. It would not be a bad thing, but you have this knack, a gift to give each of these characters such a wide range that you could be listening and watching one video and then jumping on a video game and you would have maybe no idea that it's one and the same.
Well, thank you, because that's the goal. We want to make sure the characters are differentiated and a lot of that too is, and I've been really lucky and just blessed to work with incredible writers, authors, video game developers, directors, and then when the material, you have this wonderful material to work with, it sort of just lends itself. I always say this about Shakespeare. One of the reasons I love Shakespeare so much is I feel like Shakespeare did the work for you. And any good writer does the work for you. So it's all there. Some people say, oh, Shakespeare, it's there. And if you allow the words to affect you instead of like trying to make them do something that you feel they should be doing, if you allow that musicality to kind of hit, it helps you. It all of a sudden the character just kind of comes out.
Yeah, a lot of times and I see it more so in romance than I do in other genres, where the listeners are always lovey-dovey on the narrators. And I'm the one that's like, well, they wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for the author.
Absolutely.
So you may want to say something about them.
Are you kidding me? I'm like, please, it's all about the writers. It's all about the writers. That's why I'm so excited about, we had the writer's strike. There's nothing without them. They are the storytellers. I'm part of the story. And I'm a storyteller as well, but they're creating the story. I'm just living in it. I'm just living in that incredible world that they're creating. These epic stories and characters, and it's a privilege. It's a privilege when you are hired to do, an author, like that's their baby. It's baby, and you're like, okay, I have this in my mind. I have these voices in my head, and so it's a privilege and it's a responsibility to make sure that you are honoring the author and honoring their characters, because they're not your own. It becomes, I guess, sort of a marriage of both. When you have the best sort of relationship and the best of worlds, it's a marriage of both. Your author and your narrator coming together. So you have the author's voice and the narrator's voice, and they just blend. And when it works, it works.
Yeah. I've seen it where it's worked brilliantly and to the point where I get to like, I'm watching a movie in front of my head. Yeah, kind of like, that's like, ooh, okay, that was good.
Yes. That's what I want to hear too in an audiobook. I want to hear it for me. And I know everyone's different. I know that there are listeners that maybe don't want that. They sort of want, maybe I want to hear it I want to hear performance. I want to hear that performance going on. Like I heard in Othello, there's just so many incredible narrators and stories, and the talent that's out there is absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I like to get carried away.
Yeah. I mean, and when you can get to the point where you would pick up a book that you would never really pick up in general, because it's not your genre or anything like that, and then you end up listening and you're going, when's the next one coming out?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's how good the book was written, but also performed, because there's been some fantastic books that are like, I read them eyeball wise, and the narration, nope. And you're like, nope, I'm going back to eyeballing, thank you. And then the other flip side has been where again, really good writing, but maybe too many prose or too many adjectives and descriptors and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's who's the narrator? It's, oh yeah, it's Tara. I'm gonna pick it up. Easy peasy. Automatic buy for the audiobook, depending on the narrators, because they can make it and they can break it, but most of the time they can totally make a book shine brighter than it already does on its own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So before we started talking, during the recorded side of the things, I had mentioned that people tend to use voiceover and narrators title-wise for this purpose as interchangeable or different to differentiate. I kind of I see where it's the same, but at the same time, I'm like, for me, narration is more like audiobooks and voiceover is like animation and video games. What are your thoughts on that?
For me, personally, I see it as all the same. I not the same in the sense of how it's done, but in the same acting is acting. So for me, I look at it all as acting. So to me, I would approach, and I'm sure people will disagree with this, but I approach anything, whether it's a video game or an audiobook or, an animated character. My approach is the same. My creative approach is the same as who is this character? Whether that character is, a cartoon cat or whether that character, it's always going to be about who is the character, what is the truth of that character. So the approach is the same. Now, the delivery may be different. The technique may be different. Obviously, if I'm on stage, that is a very different approach or a different kind of technique that I'm using. I have to project. My performance can be a little more, has to be truthful, it has to be real, but it still has to be slightly stylized because it's going out to a larger audience. As I'm talking to you about the theater, my voice is starting to project. So obviously, if I'm doing an audiobook, we want to be talking to the listener. You're my friend. We're having a conversation like we are now, Viviana. And it's obviously the technique is different on the mic, but the approach is the same. The approach of the truthfulness of the character and what they want, what they desire, and how they serve the story is the same.
Yeah, well, and that's the truth. I mean, the way I see it too is like regardless if it's one or the other, sometimes people are like, well, it was a short story versus a novella versus a full-on audiobook. I'm like, your performance should not matter at this point. Absolutely. If it's tiny, short, or little, whatever. But I know sometimes that differentiation, because I see sometimes some of the narrators say, "Oh, I'm a narrator, so and so. My name is blah blah, and I'm a narrator." Others will bust out with voiceover actor, and I'm like, is it because one sounds fancier than the other one? Or they're trying to differentiate between maybe the type of work that they're doing.
I don't differentiate at all. I'm an actor, and that's it. Or I'll use I think voiceover artist. I actually like the word artist because
me too, actually.
So I'm a voiceover artist. That's really the most accurate way to put it. So I'm a voiceover artist, and I work in a lot of different mediums using my voice. And that's what I do. I think there are some people, though, that call themselves narrators because that is their primary focus. That is what they do. They're like, I'm a narrator. Maybe they're not doing video games, or they're not, interested in that, or they're not doing commercial work, or, so they're like, I'm this. I know some people that are promo. They do a lot of, network promos for television, and they're like promo voice because that's what they do. So they're going to brand themselves with that. They have a very specific lane, and they do it brilliantly. So that's where they're going to, I think, brand themselves. But for me, I'm a voiceover artist, so I'm going to do it all.
Yeah. And that actually brings a good point, because there's a lot of you guys that wear so many hats. You're doing the commercials, you're doing the animation, you're doing the books, you're doing this, you're doing that. We may even hear you in the elevator. So yeah.
You'll hear me in Disney. You'll hear me there.
Yes, I did.
You'll hear me there. Yes.
Yeah. When you shared that, I literally went to the park. I'm like, and I was with my husband, and I did the whole little girl thing, like when you like grab their shirt and you just like knock on, like, mom, like, babe, I know her.
You'll hear me. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I do love that term of the voiceover artist, because it encompasses so many different things. And as a girl that wears many hats in this industry, that would be my issue. How do I identify? I don't know. I do it all.
Artist. You're an artist.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important word. art, as opposed to, content or things like that. And, especially now with, of course, AI is the big, elephant in the room, to know that art is something that is, this is our humanity that we're talking. So it's so important to know that art does give us our humanity, doesn't it? I mean, it does.
Yeah,
So
it does. The emotion that can be evoked by listening or watching.
Yes, and this is how we understand ourselves and others, human condition. It's through our art. And that's what we're fighting for, to be able to. I mean, and of course, obviously, writers and actors have been fighting for AI, but this affects everyone. This issue that affects everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I hope we can. I mean, the writers have a big win. So
yes, they're going to be talking again, I think, on Monday.
Yep.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see. Yeah, I'm remaining positive about it. So.
Yeah, and I think it's important too, because again, part of the artist and the artwork that is done, but it's happening now even with the writers, with the book writers. A lot of times in the audiobook world, there was a couple of authors that were like, well, if it's going to be less expensive to have my audiobooks made via AI versus human person, they were like all for it. And I literally said it to a friend, and the other day they're like, damn, you were right. And I said, as soon as it hits their pocketbook, they're going to have a problem with it.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And it will.
And they have already. It's started. It's already started.
It's starting. And everybody's all about, Chat GPT. I'm like, just wait. Wait. You're going to be paying for that.
Yep.
You're going to be paying for it. And, AI, and that's, and Viviana, I'm glad you said that, because AI isn't the issue. AI really isn't the problem. I mean, it's humans.
Yeah.
Who are saying, oh, I just want to use this, I just want to do this. Or it's that, and I don't think people realize, they think, oh, it's not going to affect anything. No, it is. It is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's affecting everybody, and it's affecting authors.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, even when it comes down to the creative side, like one of my things that I sometimes find it very difficult to write is on my social medias, like about this episode of the chat. When I go post about the episode that is not live, and I want to kind of convey a little bit of something that tantalize the readers to click listen and I stress about it, and I get the right verbiage, and how else can I say that she's awesome besides saying that she's awesome, right? And so I then get these commercials that are like, you can use AI to create your content post, and then this and this, and I'm going, it would be so much easier if I just did. Sure. But it wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be my voice. You wouldn't hear the whole squeak in writing. Sounds so much better than audio. Kind of a thing. It's just one of those where the humanity of it, because at that point, then if anything can be written like that, then why would you want to listen and think it was a fun kind of conversation? Exactly. That versus just, yes, today on the episode of the blah blah blah, Mm-hmm. So yeah, as soon as it hits someone's pocketbooks, they're like, yo, no. And I'm like, oh wait, what'd you say about it? Or wasn't it like easier before? Yeah. Was I that petty girl that did that offline, folks? I did it offline. Yeah, I did.
And thankfully there are incredible artists and production companies and casting directors and producers that are like, we want to work with humans.
Yes. Yes.
So that's
encouraging. Yeah. And I know sometimes humans can be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they have the attitude sometimes. They have what do you mean you're tired? You've only been doing this for an hour. Or what do you mean you're tired? It's only been 8 hours that you've been doing this. Kind of thing. But the results is just so much more worth it.
Absolutely.
At the end. So yeah. Because you cannot get those kind of emotions by listening to an AI program, as for example, Dallas in TJ London's books.
Oh, Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I love Dallas. I love being Dallas.
Yeah. So that's the historical fiction book that I probably would have never picked up, because it's historical fiction. Some folks love it. World War II fanatics, pick up the Lincolns, whatever, any historical era that you want to do it. But I picked that book up and listened to it specifically. And the first one that I listened to was The Man of War. and multicast, duet narration, everything else. But the way that it was being, the emotion that was in, provoking and prodding, and if they were happy, I was happy. When they were crying, I was like, oh my god, there's going to be tears coming out. Stop it, TJ.
I know, man. TJ, she pushed me, boy. Ooh, did she push me? Which is, again, one of the reasons that's what a phenomenal artist does. They provoke.
Yeah.
I think that is an artist's job. An artist's job is to push boundaries. And people say, oh, people push. That's an artist's job. They're supposed to take risks. They're supposed to, not play things safe. That's what an artist does. And TJ did that. And I loved working on those on the saga. I really, really did. And Della's just kind of, and it's really wonderful too when you're working with an author like that, because you find yourself, when you can surprise yourself. And I would find that would happen as well, sort of like, oh, I didn't know this was gonna, I would get so emotional, during sessions. I'm thinking about it, getting emotional about it now, just with Dallas, and just my heart was breaking.
Yeah.
Her just broke like constantly. And I'm like, oh, TJ, why are you doing this?
I know.
Why? And then of course we know why. Because that payoff is just brilliant, and it rips you apart. You feel it, and that's what a brilliant storyteller will do.
Yeah, her writing is phenomenal, and it's so superb. And then she hands off this baby of hers to you guys, and like, you have knocked it out of the park. Not only with with Dallas, when she is an emotional wreck. I feel like she's an emotional wreck. And then you get in another part, there's this sassy vixen happening that she doesn't know if she's being, cheeky, or she's being like, stop it right now. Like, this is no more bullshit. And I completely feel it when you're narrating it, through it. My earbuds, I'm like, oh my God, she's pissed.
Well, again, it's just, it's all the writing, and John is just so incredible and wonderful and infuriating. And he's so vivid. I was seeing him when I was narrating. I was seeing that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Adorable, handsome.
And I was like that friend that was watching the interaction, on the side, and be like, you get him, girl. Tell him how it is. Come on.
Yeah. Those two going toe to toe.
Yeah. But also
my favorite.
Yeah. But the Dallas is a really strong character. And
fierce.
Exactly, fierce. Gun holding, gun wielding, shoot you if she has to. But in those moments of vulnerability, it was just done beautifully. And so, trigger warning for anybody, as someone that has lost a pregnancy and has miscarried and stuff like that, I always, when I hear that there's that topic or performance in a book, I'm always a little hesitant, not because of my own issues, but how the story is going to be written. And most of the time, it's like, sometimes, even if the intent is it's to just kind of like push it around and put it in the closet again, as if it never happened. And other times it's taken as if it's some form of shame, and that you couldn't carry the baby, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's not how this works, folks.
No.
But not only did TJ do a phenomenal job of writing the emotions and the gut wrenching of it, you performed it. And I was like, that's like, if I ever had to explain how I felt with my losses, I probably would just press play and say that's because the emotion was just there, and still having to get up again and do work, Yeah.
That was rough. It really was.
And that's the thing too about the actor and being the artist, to be able to portray such a difficult conversation and do that session, and then probably turn around later in the day to do animation and everything's happy-go-lucky.
I think turn around and be like a creature of some kind. Yeah. That's why I love the business. That's exactly what I love so much about it, Viviana, is those changes, is exploring that, being able to do that. And sometimes you'll get into video game sessions are notorious for this, where you will I will audition for a particular character, and sometimes I book that character. But a lot of the times you go into the session and you're like, oh, this is a totally different character. Or you'll have, I was doing Elder Scrolls and I had my session and I had 4 different characters. One of them I knew that I was doing. It's like, all right, Tara, you're going to do this one now. So you have that opportunity to, look at that picture, talk to the director. And like, all right, let's see what you got. And that's when you kind of call upon your, magic treasure chest and you of creativity, and you go in and you have to make choices very quickly. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's like, all right, let's see what we can do here. And sometimes, and when the magic happens, it happens. Sometimes you gotta, all right, let's see what else you got. Uh-oh. And then you come up with something else. Or we love that, but could you add a bit of this? And that's the part of it that I love. That's the part that's magic to me.
Yeah, again, being able to jump into even within the same scenes or characters and animations where there's completely different things going on in front of you. And I'm like, how the heck did they do that? I was like, dang, because I've seen some of the animations and some of the video games, and I'm like, dude, she's hopping from this to that. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and also the stamina. Yeah, sometimes you're doing and I play a lot of, it's very funny that I tend to play a lot of really like big, powerful, sort of fierce, just boss characters that, have a lot of personality. And usually I'm the person that people are cursing out when they're playing a game. They're like, oh God, great, I got to beat this thing. And it's usually me. I curse myself out. I play my games. I'm like, oh my, I can't beat me. And then I just curse at myself incessantly. There'll be like Reddit threads on my characters, so it's very, very funny. And sometimes those sessions, especially if you're playing a vocally stressful character, you're level 10. And sometimes you're on that level for a long time. So yeah, so there's a lot of stamina that's involved too.
So tell us a little bit about these sessions. I have a dear close friend of mine that also does video games, and when I'm talking to them, they'll say something like, "Yeah, I just finished a 4-hour session."
Yeah,
me being more included on the audiobook side, I understand the whole being in the booth concept. So what does a session to you look like? What is that?
So it's a session to me, depending upon what the role is of the game. Sessions can be shorter. They can be anywhere from, a 1-hour session. They could be 2.5, or they could be multiple 4-hour sessions, especially if you're playing a large role. You, depending upon what it is, if some, a go-in studio. I do work, remotely now pretty much. But there are times when they want you, especially if it's maybe a very vocally stressful session where there's going to be a lot of yelling or dying multiple times. They want to have that control, so I'll go into studio in New York and do that. But regardless, half the times you don't get your script in advance, so you book the role, you get ready. I have all my water. I have all of my herbal, remedies here that I need to keep my throat functioning. And then you will work with the director. Sometimes the writer is there, which is fantastic. Sometimes the client is there, the producer. So you can be online with, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 people at one time. And you get your script, you get the briefing from the director, and you jump on in. And you go in and you start to, again, depending upon what the role is. Sometimes it's quick. Sometimes it's a role who she is. Some characters are a little more obvious than others. And then you can have I did play a very, very, very complex character I can say it because it was announced now in a video game called Pacific Drive. And she's a phenomenal character. I can't talk about the story yet because it has not been released. It's coming out 2024. But I loved this character, and the sessions were 4 hours, and the director was phenomenal, and the writer was there. So that was really great to have that insight too into the narrative of what's going on here and what's going on. And they would have to tell me, sometimes they would have pieces of the game that they could show me, which is great. But a lot of the time you're working with your mind and you're working with the director. and you're developing that character. So that is a great game because that was months of recording. So you're starting to really kind of, you really get to know the character very, very, very well. So that's really great. But a lot of the times it's, okay, here you go. Boom. Oh, by the way, can you do this? Great, because here you go. And then you do it. So, but that comes from just a lot of years of doing it. And for me, also coming from the theater, that is very, very helpful because you have the techniques to call upon to give you the confidence to be able to make those choices fast.
Yeah. As a planner, that would be a little difficult for me.
Well, yeah. You know, Viviana, I'm glad you said that because I am not a planner. I am not. I've always been kind of a fly by the seat of my ass type of person. And that's not to say that I have to plan. I mean, I have to, right. I have to plan, I have to schedule, I have to do things. It's not that. It's just that it's very hard to describe it because in the theater, you have a ton of rehearsal time. You have a lot of rehearsal. You have time, or you're preparing for an audiobook. You have the luxury of time to go in and prep, and you have to. But with video games, you don't really have that time. And sometimes you're doing an audition. And sometimes you have to get that audition in right away. So you need to make a choice quickly and be confident about it and get it out there. And it helps to be able to have that ability. You need to have both. You do need to be able to plan, but you do need to be able to have the confidence to think on your feet in this business because you don't know. You want to be prepared for anything that they're going to throw at you.
Yeah. And I really right now have a mental picture of you being behind the mic in a session and them saying, and now do it Irish.
Yes. Yes. Hey, can you do this accent? You don't want to be able to say, no, I can't. Right? You want to be able to say, absolutely, I can do that. Sure. So that comes from. So I guess I shouldn't say I fly by the seat of my pants. I prepare.
You've prepared.
And fly by the seat.
Yes.
Of my pants. Yes.
Exactly. Because one thing I know from the book world, the narrator may be asked, hey, do you do an Irish accent? And if they do it well, great, they'll say yes. And others have said, not yet, but I will. Or they've said, yes, I can. And then they run for coaching because they have time to be able to do that. From what you're describing, it's just, kind of a bit of a wing of what the other folks that know more of what's going on than you do. And you're just saying, okay, just what do you want now?
What do you want? What do you want?
What do you want?
How about this? And it's nice to come with, there's a balance too. You do want to, it's nice to be able to come with ideas. It's nice to be able to kind of present, if you're working with the director and they're open to that, say, hey, well, I was thinking about this and say, okay, great. Try it. Let's see. Oh, we love that. Or, oh, we're going to, so it's the collaboration is what's exciting to me too.
And when you're doing these sessions, is it like it would be like when it's duet narration, or are you just doing solely your character?
No, when video game, you're working on your own. You are solely. So there's so many facts. Think about those directors and those narrative designers. Like they're brilliant at what they do because it's like putting in these puzzle pieces, right? So they're directing and then they have these other actors that they've got to piece in. And when you're working on a game that's huge and has, a multicast, you've got to make sure all these pieces fit together. And it's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. So video games, you are recording solo, recording your roles, just you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As a girl that's not traditionally a gamer, my gaming consists of Super Mario Brothers and Pac-Man.
Oh, and yes.
And things like that. Now there is complete like sagas and almost like literally watching a movie. And
that's right. They, they're very cinematic.
Yes, very cinematic. And some of them get to choose which way if you pick A, it's gonna, this is what's gonna happen. If you want to pick B, and it's so immersive in that sense. Mm-hmm. But the fandom is just
wow. I tell you, so Honkai Star Rail is very popular. There's a Hoyoverse. They do Genshin Impact, which is a wonderful, wonderful game. It's a phone game. But now it's on, is Genshin on? I think Genshin is coming on PlayStation. I know Honkai is coming on PlayStation this next month, October 10th, I believe. And when I was cast as the villain, Fantilia, it was absolutely insane because the game has such a huge following. I'm obsessed with it. And when I audition, when we get video game auditions, they're code named. We don't know what the game is because they're protecting their property. So
Intellectual property.
I don't know what I'm auditioning for. So it was codenamed. So I saw this character and I looked at her and I was like, oh my God, she's just stunning. She's gorgeous. And I auditioned, didn't think about it. And then I got it and I didn't know what game it was. And when I found out the game, I was so excited because I play it. I play the game. And I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to be in it. And there's different kinds of games. And that's a character, Fantilia's, he's kind of a very obvious, she's a baddie. I mean, she's big in so many ways. She's actually literally a giant. Like, she's gigantic. She's gorgeous. And she's very, very evil. And that is a role-playing game. There are so many different styles of video games now. And that's important. Just like there's different styles of audiobooks. And so when you're auditioning, and this comes into what we were talking about, Viviana, about approach. You need to know what genre you're auditioning for. You need to kind of know, because that's going to obviously affect your choices, and how far you're going to go and what you're going to do. Are you playing a very, realistic based, very cinematic, very grounded, very naturalistic film performance, like a lot of video games are today? They're looking for these very real performances. They're like, we don't want cartoony. We want real. We want grounded. Or is it a video game where they do want more of an over the top? What's the style? And you have to know that, so that when you are preparing your audition, that you can prepare appropriately so that you can book the gig.
Yeah. And I'm glad that they at least provide you with that much insight on your audition, because because they have to keep their intellectual property protected, most of the time, they'll probably tell you, like, they're really, really big and they do have an Irish accent. Go.
Yes. Sometimes they don't give you any information, and this will happen in animation sometimes. A lot of the times they will give you a picture, which is the best, because you want to see a picture. Like, what do they look like? What is this character like? Do they have fangs? Do they have, that's going to affect the way that I speak? Are they big? Are they, what is their physicality? But sometimes you don't get much. So you have to kind of go, all right, that's when you use your imagination, and that's when you get as specific as you can, so that you can really create a performance. Sometimes you'll get paragraphs that really, like, whoa, okay, you'll get so much information about the character, pages. And then sometimes you'll get, like, nothing. And you just have to kind of go from there.
Yeah. Well, that's where, I mean, I cannot even imagine how that would work in book world, because when people don't prep, like, y'all have told me stories, guys, this, the narrators, when all of a sudden chapter 24 in his Russian accent, and you're going, fuck.
I've been Irish this whole time. Yeah, you gotta read the book. Yeah. It's prep. You've got so you can have the freedom. Freedom is in the preparation, and theater. You're doing scenes over and over and over again, right? So you get your script, you block the scenes, and I was always that actor that wanted to get, we call it off book. So you have your script and you're kind of walking around putting in your blocking. Blocking is your stage direction, or where you're going, and then you're walking around with your script. And I was like, I got to get this out of my hand ASAP. So I was always one of those people that wanted to be off book as soon as possible. So I got the script out of my hand so I could see the other actors, and I could perform, and I can hit my marks and do what I needed to do. And then within that, there's a lot of repetition. All right, we're going to do this scene again. Okay, now we're going to do it this way. We're going to do it this way. And also depending upon your director. And I had one director that really he loved to do scenes. I mean, Viviana, over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I loved it, because you got to a point where it just breathed out of you, because the words went away. The words, it's not about the words. Dave Fennoy, who is one of my mentors and is just a phenomenal actor and video game actor, like he's an icon, and he's always talks about that. It's not about the words. It's not about the words. And even and you say, hey, wait a second, but audiobook, it's about the author, and it's about those words are important. They are, but it's what's behind those words. You don't want to play the words. You want to make sure those words get out. Those are, those that's someone that's the work. But what's behind those words? What's the motion behind those words? What's really going on? You don't want to play literally everything. You want to play what's underneath that, the subtext. What's the character thinking? I could be telling somebody, I hate you, but underneath that is really, God, I love you, or I miss you. That's going to affect the way I say, I hate you. So those are things that are very, very important. Subtext.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had a Dulles moment there. To John.
Yeah, she says that.
Yeah. But it's the same thing. Like and I think a good example, one that I've used before, is like when we talk to our dogs, right? The tone. Yes. They don't understand a damn thing we're saying to them. We can say, you stupid little motherfucker, but they hear, oh my God, you're so awesome. I love you too. Oh my God, yes, shake that ass, and that's the same thing when it comes down to the performance. As much as I love my Zooms with the cameras off, in this case for recording, and I tend to do that just because people tend to relax more. When it comes down to these important conversations, I want you in the room with me or on camera. And that's because I can pick up on the body language, not just what you're telling me. I give good phone, Yes. Yes. And at the day job, I was like, thank God there are no cameras on these phones because, the eye rolling that would be happening as I'm still sounding like I'm fine with you.
Well, that's what's so great though, because you can hear all those things.
Yes, there was actually a course bringing a smile to your voice.
Yes. You hear that a lot in commercials. Commercials. Oh, we want to hear a little more smile in the voice. Okay, So
can you fucking hear it now?
We want to smile. Yeah. And commercials too. I mean, to me, it's the same approach. It's like, even if you're, doing a commercial about blinds, I mean, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to have a choice, have a specific point of view, and you have to be convincing and like you're talking to, like the way that we're talking now. It's like, hey, so I approach commercials the same way. I don't want it to just be like you're selling something, And of course, at the end of the day, we are selling, that's what's happening. But, you want it to sound like you're having an authentic conversation. They're all the specs all the time. We want, real and, having, talking to your best friend kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You hear that in commercials now.
Yeah. But even it's a huge marketing thing. You don't ever want to come across as sell, buy this, buy that, buy me this, get, buy my services, buy me my voice and stuff like that. With that commercial with the blinds, for an example, as mundane as that sounds, like also adulting, the things you get excited about,
Yeah, right.
Versus a child. But if you're telling me now, I'm seeing this story about how you finally find those blinds that will completely make your room not only look good, but provide you that privacy and, give away the light. So when you can sleep in peace, I'm going, yes, because I can't do the light when I'm sleeping. I see light, I'm wide awake. The birds are singing. I'm happy. It's
and you're
4:00 in the morning.
You're working hard and you're tired and you deserve your rest.
Yes.
These are going to help you do that. Absolutely. Why wouldn't I want those? So.
Yeah, exactly. That's what gets you telling me the story.
There's always a story.
I got someone had me interested in a video game because they told me what the story was about, not ever telling me that it was a video game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a video game? Damn, I gotta play it. Fuck.
You'll see trailers. You'll see trailers sometimes, and now you're seeing trailers for video games. People think they're movies. And
yes.
Yeah. That's what they are now. It's incredible, especially motion capture and everything. They're just
No, yeah. And again, I'm not that gamer that will sit there for 5 hours. My niece is. She was so proud of the upgrade on the chair that she got recently.
Oh, nice. Good for her.
Yeah, no, she's been buying all the pieces. I mean, I'm looking at her and I'm like, woman, you're 21. And she's so excited about the computer and the lights and things like that. And the last time I went to visit her, she's like, Cynthia. And I'm like, what are we doing? She's like, I'm going to show you this video game. And I was like, okay, show it to me. And I'm going, does this make it move left or right? And she got frustrated with me.
Oh, it takes time. It takes time to get you, kind of used to that. Get that muscle memory going. Yeah.
Again, Super Mario Brother. A, B, C.
Classic.
Yeah. But again, it's just the fandom is phenomenal. They're so supportive and they're ravishing. And and when they have conferences, and have you gone, or have you been going now to the events that are for the video games and the animations?
I have not. I do have. I'm going to have a Streamily signing that I have coming up.
Yay!
Yay! So I'm very excited. That's going to be coming up November 6th. I'll have more information about that soon. So I have some prints and some fun characters. That's Fantilia specifically. That'll be signing there. So yeah, I'm hoping next year I'll be getting out to more cons and more events.
Yeah, not only for the for the video games and the animation, but Book World has been significantly more open about having the narrators attend. I understand why the concerns are. I get it. We can talk about that in another episode. But anyways, there's so many more book signings, and the other day I had someone that says, "Hey, did you hear about this?" I'm like, "No, that one's new." I have a running list. It's an Excel spreadsheet of all these events, because they're just coming out of nowhere in a good way. And
great.
Yeah.
And there's so many voiceover events. I mean, yes, next year is going to be, the year where it's like, I'm very excited about.
Yeah. Are you going already? Because I'm, again, planning. Do you have any already that you have in the books that as of right now, because I know things happen and life changes, so don't quote us.
I'm going to Darkstar Con in New Orleans. I'm going to be there. Yeah. Are you going?
I am. It hasn't been announced yet, but on the official podcast.
Ooh, news. It's news here. Just announced here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited.
Me too.
I've never been to New Orleans either, so I'm yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to Denise and Troy, and the venue is fantastic. August though, I was like, sir. Because I've been there. Yeah, I've been there before, and I'm like, sir.
Is it warm? Is it very warm?
It's so hot. It's so hot. Yeah, it's so hot. Yes. You go down there, like it's worse than Savannah, Georgia in mid-August, but it is such a colorful, romantic and spontaneous, and kind of a city where there's a little bit of everything, from if you're a foodie, if you're so many movies have been filmed there or were inspired by there, and also books. Like I did it the last time. Sherilyn Kenyon has a series that she writes. It's a PNR, and it takes place in New Orleans as their headquarters. And sometimes they travel other places, but their headquarters, everything's in New Orleans. And I found the building in which that's where the bar is. And I'm like such geeking out. Took a photo in front of it, and then did the trail because she had a map. So that's definitely something that is fun when authors do that. And they kind of tell you, yeah, this was, inspired by, this place and so, and this is what I refer to the building as that, but this is what it looks like. And it's so historic. Great for ghost tours, by the way.
Yes. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm very excited.
Yeah. So that's in August. Are you looking into attending anything before that, or will that be then technically your first?
I'm looking to be attending a VO Atlanta, which is going to be March, I think. VO Atlanta is March.
I think so.
And then those are the ones that I have right now. And then there's some other cons and things like that are tentative for more video game stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. Yeah, that VO one in Atlanta, I've been eyeballing for a while, a couple of years. Yeah. So I'm hoping to one of these days be able to go to it. But heck, just being able to go to some of these things, these conferences. I've been to some cons where, and with the animations and the fandom and things like that, and being with people with cosplay. Oh my god.
Oh, I want to cosplay my character so bad, but I can't. I have one problem. I can't sew. I would know anybody I can hire is listening. I would hire someone to this costume for me, because it's just it's just insane.
I can totally imagine your social media being like costume of cosplay of the month kind of a thing, different characters for you that you've already voiced.
I would love to cosplay them all. I've gotten to voice some really just cool looking characters, and I just want to be all of them.
But yeah, this one thing I wish I would have done, like either in school or and I hear you guys when you're like, well, there's still time. Yes, there is, but there's not enough hours in the day right now.
I know what you mean. I know.
And I can do pillowcases because it's a straight line.
Yes.
Which means scars are good too, and ponchos. See, that's as far as it goes. So I can help out if the cosplay has a scarf or a poncho.
So, one of the things when you go to the theater and you study like in a conservatory environment or in a theater environment, you have to do everything. So if I'm going to study theater, I want to be an actor. No, you need to do everything because it gives you the respect for all of the jobs. You have to work on sets. You have to work in the costume department. And I remember I was so bad. Viviana. Like we were doing, I think, a production of like Brigadoon, which is this, it's a musical and, that takes place in Scotland. And I had to make some of the kilts and I had, the poor guy, he came in for his fitting for this kilt. It was a mini skirt. Like it was a mini. It was like it barely covered his ass. And I was like, yes, you are going to be the most popular chorus member of Brigadoon. And I'm like, yeah, Tara, no. You know what? Just go back. Like I was basically kicked out. I mean, they're basically, you know what? Yeah, no, you just,
go back to the acting.
Go back to stick to acting.
Yeah. I will say that they're still doing that. My kid who's 21 now, when he did the last 2 years of his high school, he did theater. And he wasn't so much in the acting. He wanted to be the one behind the scenes. So the set making, the painting, lighting, all that, the audio stuff. I was like, good.
Yes, good. Or, stage manager is a
Yes.
great job. Being a stage manager.
Yeah.
You're running the whole show. Once the director leaves, like that becomes stage manager. That's pretty much your show.
Yeah. He did some really good fun stuff. Yeah, he did such a good job. And I'm like, so why can't you use a hammer at home? There's been some projects, sir.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Well, sometimes our passions are, that's different.
There is. It's true.
Yeah. And speaking of the passions and things like that, when it comes down, you've done so much, and you've been all over, with characters with accents and, otherworldlies, aliens.
Yes, otherworldlies. Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Is there a genre, whether it be, let's say audiobooks and in the animation side, that you have yet to do that you were like, ooh, that would be fun?
I haven't done a lot of fantasy audiobooks. And I love them. So I've done some paranormal. And I did, but I really love fantasies. So I would definitely love to do that. What else would I love to do? There's more. I've done some anime, but I would love to do more because it is fun. It is really, really fun. It has its own challenges, but it's exciting. And I every time I have a session for anime, it's just a lot of fun to dub these great characters. So I'd like to do that also. And what else? Promo. I haven't done a lot of promo, and I would love to get more into doing promos.
Okay. You see, usually people tend to like starting point was promos, and they're like, no, I'm good. But
promos are tough. Promos are, that's promos for, major networks and things like that. Those are really, I have a friend of mine who does them. He's a phenomenal actor, but he's all over the television now doing that. That's really, really, really great.
I mean, you have Samuel L. Jackson's doing commercials, so I think we're good. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. All celebrities, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And audiobooks too.
I know.
And audiobooks. You can look at Audible and it's like, they're all doing it. I mean, they've been doing it for a while, but now it's like really they're everywhere. I will say
that that's a conversation that the community has been having as far as the listener side of things.
Yeah.
Is that being a brilliant actor on stage and on film does not equate a good narrator, because it's a different way of doing it. And it's mostly your voice. Like a lot of times, like you can't make the facial expressions and convey the emotion. You can't convey the hand gestures, the fist pumping and all that fun stuff. And it's just a little difference. And I think they're starting to realize now that that's just a little difference. It's the same thing. It's great starting set and tools. But there's been some other ones too. I'm blanking on her name. She was, oh my God, Elizabeth Bennet's sister in Pride and Prejudice. This is how my brain works, folks. I'm sorry.
Oh, Kate Winslet?
Don't. She won an audiobook thingamajiggy last year. Hold on. This is where my brain goes to Pride and Prejudice search. 2005 cast. And I want to say something starts with
Knightley?
No, Keira Knightley was.
Oh no, she was in. Okay, you said Pride and Prejudice, right?
Yeah, so she was in Pride and Prejudice in 2005, but it was her sister. Rosamund Pike, who was Jane Bennett. Yes.
I love Rosamund Pike. I love her.
Yes. She's like, when anybody says, when we've had that.
Her.
Yeah. If we've had this conversation and they're like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, listen.
So good.
Check her out. And they're like, but she's an actress. I'm like, no, listen, check her out.
See, I guess that's why I differ, because I think it's a matter of taste too, because I grew up in the theater too. And I want to hear my audiobooks acted. And I think some people don't. I think some people, and I know that with me, I know I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I know there are people going to be like, oh, I love that, I want to hear it acted. And other people will be like, no, it's too much for me. So I do think there's a certain kind of, like, for me, one of my favorite, I love Jim Dale's Harry Potter. I love Jim Dale narrating anything. And Jim Dale is, to me, he is a consummate theater actor, and I adore him. And I love that when he's telling me a story, he's like, and then Harry, like, he's just there. I see everything. I feel everything. I love Stephen Fry as well. I love Stephen Fry's, two very different approaches, but I tend to like the drama. The drama. I enjoy it. I want to hear that. I kind of want to hear the little subtleties in the eyes, when that person's talking. I want to hear them saying a particular line as you would in real life. I want to hear that kind of, like, as opposed to it being more precise. I want to hear that kind of that humanity. I want to hear that. So, and I do think that there are differences and people have different styles. And I also think not everybody, I think more and more audiobook listeners now, I think more contemporary listeners like that kind of style where it's sort of like, hey, I feel like I'm watching a rom-com right now. I'm watching a movie. And I think other people might be like, this is too rom-com-y movie for me. That's too much. Right. So I do think that that's very interesting. So I do think style and everybody has different taste levels. Narrators that people love and narrators, so I tend to go for more of those theatrical narrators. I tend to go for more of those actor types because I really love what they're doing. And not saying what you said, Viviana, that every actor makes a good narrator. They do not. And not every film actor makes a great video game actor. They do not. But I think I do find that most stage actors, to me, I can always tell as somebody who's had Shakespeare training or stage, they tend to be my favorite narrators.
Yep. I'm looking at it now. Yeah.
Right. Like, think about it. Go, oh, they do Shakespeare. Oh, they do Shakespeare. And they went to, Yale or Juilliard or, whatever, not that you have to go to Yale or Juilliard to be a phenomenal narrator. I'm just saying, for me, I find that those tend to be, and I think with the Shakespeare, it has a lot to do with just timing and the poetry, because writing is poetry. And I feel like those actors have kind of a shortcut into that, because you're doing a book and you don't have the time to say in the stage as you would rehearse, right? And I think sometimes listeners, to take that into consideration, you're listening to a book that this narrator has done their research, they've done the prep work, they are going in pretty much cold. Now, because you can't rehearse 700 pages, right? Cannot do that. So you're sitting down, and that narrator has to have confidence in their prep work that they know who these characters are, so they can make those choices and make those real choices. So when you're listening to that, You're basically listening to narrators cold reading 7-8 hours, and of course it's double that time for a narrator do that. And that's something that when you think about it, you go, wow, audiobook narrators are just phenomenal at what they do, because that is a very tough job. You don't have a director unless you're working at Audible Studios. Even then, a lot of times you maybe you're lucky to have a director, but sometimes you don't. You'll have your audio engineer, but you're pretty much going in and, you're on your own.
Yeah. But also when you're on stage, you're that one character and that's it. And so
That's
you only
it?
have to remember and feel like what that emotion was during that scene for that one character. As a narrator, y'all got to do all of them.
And remember what I said about being off book. Being off book and not having that script gives you that freedom to allow those words to just become like they're your words coming out of you. Again, you're sitting down and you're reading, and you have to make the words come. You have to lift those words off the page for the first time. You have to lift them off the page. You have to be able to look ahead. You have to be able to see what's coming, and you have to be able to make those choices.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It takes a lot of skill.
Yeah. And the good thing is, though, that there's so many different books out there done in different styles. So if you are not the listener that wants things to be more, dramatical and immersive, you can do single narration or even dual narrations. Right now, it's getting more and more popular to have that semi-immersive where duet style with some sounds and when you're like, these birds in this park, and then all of a sudden you hear,
like an audio drama, which I do love.
An audio drama, drama. And things like that. So it's just, and then some that are like, nope, I want my solo narration. I'm like,
I want my solo, and I get that. And then you know what? There are certain stories that I want solo narration. I just want to focus on that.
Yeah.
So it is great that we have the variety that we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's one of the things I love about the books in general. There's so many different genres. And then even within romance, there's so many different subgenres.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. It's fantastic. And we find that a little bit of everything, people can jump around. It's great. You have a pretty fully booked docket, and it's like when I say it's not only what's on your plate, it's on your platter. Between all these roles that you're doing and continuing to do more auditioning and getting the new gigs and all that fun stuff, but then you added something else to it. You guys, you're going to be launching called the process, Destructing the Creativity. Yes. A podcast. Tell me about that, because when I saw it, I was like, ooh.
Yes. Very, very excited about this. So I founded a company called the Voiceover Repertory Company 3 years ago, and we do audio drama, and it is that fully immersive audio drama. We do all genres. We do a lot of science fiction. We just did a farce that is actually out now. And our creative director, Daniel Lazarian, who is a phenomenal director, and he and I are really, really passionate about the actual process of artists, all artists, writers, directors, producers, game developers, actors, voice actors, all kinds of creators. We want to know what the creative process means to you, what it means. How do you prepare for something? No, and we really want to get into the nitty gritty of technique, because this is what I've always been passionate about, as we've talked about, a lot today, Viviana, why I love doing what I do, because I love the process of creating. And it's not something that people really, we say the word process a lot, but what does it mean? What does that mean? How does each individual create? And everybody has a unique story. We're all storytellers, every single one of us. And I always say, you don't have to be, everyone is their own artist of their own life. You don't have to be a, quote unquote artist, voice actor, whatever. Everyone has a story. Everybody is a creative. And we are interviewing and going kind of really in depth with what those techniques are. So we're interviewing everyone. From our first interview is with a fabulous actor, and Tom Antonellis is a voice actor. He's a coach. He's an accent and dialect coach. He does it all. He has podcasts. He's done audiobooks. He's done a lot. It's a really, really interesting interview, and we are just going to be taking all kinds of creatives from all walks of life to come on and delve into how do they get there. How did you get, what was that moment that you knew you were creative? And what does that actually mean? It's like, it's one thing to, and it's sometimes it's hard to articulate, but it's very interesting when you get people to kind of open up about these stories, the gems that come out. It's basically like a master class in creativity.
Yeah. And a lot of folks don't think that they're creative and that they're doing this, they're sewing, some folks are doing like teddy bears for the family and they're doing this or how they're cooking and they're making these huge meals and things like that. And I'm like, that's artistry right there.
That's an art.
That's an art.
Living is an art. Living is an art. So that's what we're going to be exploring in the process.
Love it. It's so interesting. Again, that process, because a lot of times people think, oh, look, I'm getting the finished thing. That's it. They just want the product, whether it's, the outfit, the podcast, the book, whatever, not knowing about all the editing and all the graphics and all this and the color changes. And even like, so I did a book cover for an author friend of mine and she wanted a specific kind of teal. And oh my God, that's still the running joke between us because the number of variations of teal that I provided with her for, and then she's like, Little Mermaid teal. And I'm like, woman.
Oh my gosh.
Woman. And so these things, and I'm like, first of all, at the time I worked for the company. I could have gotten that, that number for the red color code, but then it's like, well, which part of the angle of this? And so Tim, all that is creative. Yes. And the process, sometimes it takes a second, other times it takes months of writing or performance. Yes. Yeah. And sometimes I think people take it for granted and that they themselves are the artist, or if they love a form of art that they don't understand why it's worth that much.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And also some people too, as a creative, some people get stuck in their process, right? So they get stuck or they're not sure how they can, how they can get past a slump. Maybe they need help in refining that. So I always find it's inspiring to be able to listen to other creatives talk about how they do it.
Yeah. It's always fun when someone says, I'm like, oh my God, like, why wasn't I doing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. I'm an overthinker. I simplify overcomplicated processes for other folks. I'm an overthinker about me.
Me too. I think a lot of I just think that goes with being creative. I do.
Yeah, I think
because our minds are, they're always going. They're always going. So
yeah. So when does the first episode launch? Because you recently announced
Tuesday.
So that's October 2nd.
October 2nd.
Yes. Yes, October 2nd. I'll make sure to link that for when this one goes live for us to chat, so we can listen. And I'm looking forward to listening to it. There's just so many things that you continue to do. And is there anything that you're wanting? I know that we kind of talked about the books as far as the sort of genres, but do you have like a goal in life when it comes down to your career? Like, if I get this, or if I learn that accent, or if I can do this, that you're like, yes, I'm good. Yeah. Or is it always ongoing?
I used to think that, I used to think, oh, if I do this or if I do that, or when I get here. And I realized that I'm working and it's enough. And I just want to keep working, Viviana. To be able to work in this industry and to work consistently that's the dream. I just want to be able to keep doing what I'm doing. Get better, because there's always, you never stop learning and you never stop trying to be the best that you can. So I want to just get better and better, and I want to keep working. The work is enough for me. I love it. And I really love being, I guess I would consider myself like a utility player. And what that means is, I like to do a lot of different roles. I keep myself busy, I'm kind of like, or playing supporting roles or things like that, a utility player. I love doing that because I do get to play a lot of very eclectic kind of roles, which I like. I love having all of these, different pieces of myself that I can kind of discover. And I want to keep expanding on that and doing that.
Yeah, that's definitely an artist thing.
Yes. Yeah. I I love it. Every day I can get up to do this and talk with you and I've got, a bunch of auditions, sitting in my mailbox that I can be like, oh, I've got all these auditions. I've got all these characters that I get to play with and do. Like, that's the joy of it for me.
Yeah. I will say I am fascinated and I love and love that you still get excited about auditions.
You better in this business because that's mostly because you have to. You've got to.
I think sometimes there's some folks, and maybe it's in a specific area of the industry that are like, oh, I no longer have to audition, or I don't need to. I'm like, well, no, I still want you to audition. I know you sound great. I just want to make sure that you sound good for this particular role.
Absolutely. Yeah, because there's so many different factors.
Yeah.
So many different factors. So to give an example of that, the voiceover repertory company, we had auditions for we did a sci-fi drama called Justice, which is one of my favorites, written by our fabulous lead writer, Steve Weins, wrote this wonderful piece. And it was based on a story of an alien, a human, and an artificial intelligence. And there is basically something happens, and the AI becomes this sort of judge of who's telling the truth and who isn't. Okay. So the part of the alien was, I had this voice in my head, Viviana. I had this voice in my head and I could hear the alien. I knew what I wanted him to sound like. He was very regal, but I also wanted him to have a very specific kind of dialect and accent. I wasn't sure what that was, but I heard it in my head. Now, we had auditions for this character that were brilliant. They were really brilliant. But then there was one actor, as soon as I heard him, I was like, and I remember saying to Dan, you got to hear this guy. Absolutely phenomenal. His name is Chris Okawa. He is a brilliant voice actor. He does everything. You'll hear him all over the place. He does a lot of promos. He does a lot of video games. Also, he happens to be a stage actor. He's a Shakespearean actor. This is interesting. I did not know that when I heard Chris the first time. And I said, that's him. That is the alien. That's the voice. I wish I had a clip of it that you could hear. He's so good. And it wasn't that everybody else, we had performers that just, not that they weren't good, they just weren't right. Right. So you could be wonderful. You could be a fantastic actor. Your work is out there and it's great, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're right. Or maybe you just want to hear other people because somebody can surprise you. So being on the casting side of it, that's what happens sometimes. And sometimes you just know. Sometimes you've got something in mind for, oh, this part is this individual. I know that's this person, but other times you don't know. And I mean, I'm always up for an audition. You need to hear from me? Absolutely. I will audition. What do you need? Make sure that it's a good partnership. You want everybody to be happy because it's a collaboration.
Mm-hmm. I actually like for my side of things, kind of like, okay, you know what I can do. But I also like to have well, what is it specifically? Because for me, it's almost like I want to be able to step up for the challenge. Absolutely. And you might challenge me to do something different that I have not ever done before, but I want it and I'm willing to do it.
Yes.
And that's where I think the artistry kind of comes into play, is that stretching of the muscles and stretching of the minds and the possibilities. And sometimes it could be a really bad, teal color of the, not exactly of the Little Mermaid shade. But man, when you get it,
you get it. And you know what? And there are times you don't get it. There are times where you take the risk and it doesn't work. Or you do an audition and I'll go back, and I keep all my auditions. I'll go back and I'll listen to something months later. Wow, that was my choice? What was I thinking? But my agent always says to me, Tara, sometimes I'll send you things. I'm going to send you some things and you're going to look at it and go, why is he sending me this? This is so, trust me and do it. And I never forgot that. So I always, even if I have an audition that I think, wow, that's just so far out of my wheelhouse, or I'm not going to, I always do it, unless it's something that, it's just, really, really far out there or something like that. But for the most part, I mean, everything that comes my way, I'm like, here I go, going in, and you take the shot. Because like you said, you can surprise yourself. And sometimes it's like, I've booked parts that I was, wow, I booked that job? Oh my God, I didn't know I was going to book that job. So, yeah.
It's when you can get someone to trust you and that believes in you
Yeah.
and will work you through the ringer to get you because they know you can do it. And even though we might be going, I don't want to do it anymore, you're mean.
Yes.
It's like, okay, we're at a good place. Okay, let's go. And then when you see the final product and you're going, I did that.
Yeah.
And then hopefully there's a little less second guessing the next time.
Yes. Yes.
Next, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Imposter syndrome is big here.
It's all good. You know what? It's okay. It's just as
Yeah.
long as you keep doing it. You just have to keep doing it.
Yeah. And it's fun as long as you find it fun. I think that's where, for me, that's why I was like, wow, she really sounds like it's fun for her to audition. I was like,
It's fun.
yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. And when you're on the video game side and all of those things, you get a lot of auditions from your agent. You're not going to book them all. You're going to lose more jobs than you win. You're going to lose more jobs than you get. So you really need to love that process. You need to be okay with, hey, you didn't get that or you didn't hear, so and then you just move on. And everything you do, you learn from that. Okay.
Yeah. I'm always asking for feedback. Could I have done that differently? And how would that look like? Or did I need to work on something harder? Different feel?
That's great. You can get feedback. It's great. And in our business on that side of it, a lot of the times you don't get it.
Yeah.
Yes. And you have to be like, okay, so then you get it in the sense of you can talk to your agent or you can say, hey, what do you think about this? Or you can talk to, your coaching. Most people in the business, I think anybody who's a voice actor or actor, they're always studying. It never stops. We're always trying to keep learning and because it's a muscle. You got to keep working it.
Mm-hmm. And there's just with so many stories out there. I mean, there's so many different ways from the accent work to how to say certain, pronunciations.
Yes.
And, I'm not much of a crier, but now I have to cry on cue. How do we do this? All this fun stuff.
Accents and dialects are a big part of it too, because you want to make sure that you're accurate, and you're respectful and you're honoring that, whatever that particular accent or dialect is. So yeah, you want to make sure that it's always good to work with somebody because, unless you, especially accents and dialects are tricky too, because it's again, like a muscle, you have to keep using them, right? You've got to keep doing that. So yeah, if you need to, there's so many great coaches out there that you can work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or just wanting to expand your repertoire. Like, I've always done this and I want to do that. How do I go about it?
Yes.
And so that's always a great kind of thing. Again, part of the thing I love about creativity and the creative side of any job has always been being able to try something new, keep things moving forward and seeing how good or how bad I'm at something. And that's okay. If I'm going to fail, it's going to be epic, Tara. It's going to be epic failure.
Viviana, I'm with you. I am so with you. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. I'm going to be like, all right, there it is. Well, that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But damn, the way she did that.
But I did.
Failure, but damn.
I fell on my face.
Yeah. I was in it.
Yeah. 110%. I'm going.
Yeah. At least I tried.
I'm like that though,
Yeah.
Like, let's go. And I have horses and I used to barrel race with my horse. So I have 2 barrel horses. So that's like in the rodeo and you like run around the 3 barrels and you run very, very fast, very, very fast speed. And my horses they're semi-retired right now. I don't compete anymore. But when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, what I lacked though in skill, I made up for with guts. And I think guts is the number one quality you have to have as a creative. It's guts. Skill is going to come. It takes a long time. You've got to, some people have a natural ability. That's great, but you still have to hone those skills and you still have to put them into practice. So I started backwards when it came to writing. I do not recommend people do that. And I failed epically. I mean, I fell, I got hurt. I mean, it was, and thank God I had a phenomenal horse, my girl, Sweetie. I have 2, Sweetie and Trader, and Sweetie, man, whoa, did she take care of me? She was just like, damn girl, like, just hang on for God's sakes. I will take care of you. And she did. And you know what? eventually I learned, and we were doing our thing, and but I just kept doing it. I didn't care. I think because and there were I was competing with people that were like all different levels, people like pro riders and everything else. And there was Sweetie and I, and Sweetie was known for being very, like, she was very fast. And when I'd go to the warm up ring, people would like leave because I could barely control her, and
I just sit here.
and I was like, oh, I'm okay, and I thought I was fine. People were like, oh my God, what's that girl doing? Like, and I kept doing it. I did not care. I was like, I know people were like, what is that girl thinking? And, eventually Sweetie and I got together. But yeah, we failed. And then we were, in the winner's circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's one of those, sometimes people get a little bit concerned with, oh, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to do that. And something that I can equate it to is like Canva right now. There's a huge conversation with graphic artists and Canva. And I'm like, listen, I'm fine with you using Canva, but don't bust out with that this is a unique thing if you're using a template. And know the rules that if you use a template, you don't know the rights. You have no ownership to it. Versus you can start you with a template to give you maybe a rough idea. But then if at the end of the day, the person looking at it has no freaking clue that was a template, then that's art, kind of a thing. And that's where you start. And that's okay to start there. It's okay to start with Canva.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's okay to buy that horse that you have no idea what you're going to do.
Just make sure you have a trainer and you have help.
But see, that's the key right there. I think it's one of those, go ahead and do it, but then surround yourself and learn and use those skill sets and hone it. Don't lie about it.
Yes.
Don't steal from other folks either, folks. Don't claim to have it be yours when it's not, but like own it. Like, yeah, I bought a horse.
And I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I used to say that to people. They'd be like, Tara, like, yep, I got a horse. She's a lot of horse for me. And I'm basically hang on. I'm hanging on.
Yeah. And you kind of run with it. And then you learn little by little.
And because I got her, and oh God, she's just such a doll. I love her. She helped me get better. And then I was able, when I got Trader, I was like, okay, now I can, I would never have been able to ride him had I not learned what I learned from Sweetie and the trainers that worked with me, But yes, I did get help. And that's it too. Get the help, get the training.
Yeah. It's important. It's just how, everything. Yeah. There's always something to learn, whether if it's paint, like what kind of paint, is it acrylic? Is it water painting? It's all going to be different and the end result's different. So there's nothing wrong with wanting to learn. If you're wanting to try something that you've never done before, do it. Just make sure that when you're jumping, you know how to soft landing there, at least it's safe.
Yes.
But jump. Yeah. So I did give you some homework, and I used in high school, and actually now I remember this clearly, even in kindergarten, I would hate it when my teacher would give us homework and then not check it. Because I'm like, no. So I gave you homework where you are going to tell me 3 things about you, of which 2 are truths and 1's a lie, and we have to figure out which one's the lie. The fact that I decided to do this with a bunch of actors as part of a podcast concept. I mean, I could do this with like paint artists. They're not good liars. Y'all are actors, but okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So here are my 3 truths. So I had a company called The Mystic Woman. I am an herbal educator, and I created my own line of products. And they were like, beauty products, creams, like lotions and potions, and all kinds of fun things like that. And my sister and I also created a formula for horses that we sold. So that's my first one. Second one is that me and Sweetie and my horse Trader hold national title in barrel racing. And the third one is that I once was at Bill Clinton, former President Bill Clinton's 60th birthday party.
I totally see you doing the potions and lotions and magic spells and stuff like that. Totally see you do that. Okay, so those are the three. The owning a company where you did. You said Mystic Woman. What's the name of it?
Mystic Woman, the Mystic
Yes,
Woman.
I love that name. Where you were an herbalist and doing all sorts of lotions and potions, and you ended up doing a line for the horses. You and your horses are, champions, national champions in barrel racing, and that you've met former President Bill Clinton, of all of which this is very possible. You did good. You did good. Is the lie the one about the Bill Clinton?
That's true.
Oh, okay.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
It was his 60th birthday party, and it was at Radio City Music Hall. And after the show was over, we all went up on the stage, and I got to meet him. And it's the funniest story because at the time, he was, his president, this, security, the whole deal. Hillary was there, and where I was sitting, I was actually a few seats back from them. So I could see him and her. And then, everybody was on the stage. And I wasn't nervous at all about this, Viviana. I was like, okay, whatever, I'm going to, okay, you're going to meet the president, whatever. Okay. Whatever. So I'm standing there in this circle, this line, and he's moving, going down the line, getting closer. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And as he's getting closer to me, I start freaking out. It's the president of the United States. And I don't care who you are, and I don't care who you voted for, and I don't care. It's the president. Mm-hmm. It is the most powerful person getting closer to you. And I was like, so I'm looking around for my friend to introduce me, right? Because as I turn around, I'm turning, and I'm actually doing this right now. I looked around my shoulder, I turn, and he's standing in front of me. Okay, now this is years ago. He's tall, very charismatic, and he's staring at me, and his hand is out, and I start talking like an idiot. I grab his hand, put my hand, start shaking it, and I go, "Happy birthday, Mr. President, sir." This was just absolutely fabulous. I really enjoyed this. When John Bon Jovi came out, I mean, that was fantastic. And Viviana, I just started babbling incessantly. And he was looking at me like, do I know her? Have we met? And I'm like, oh, okay. And then my friend came oh, Mr. President, this is Tara, blah, blah, blah. And I was introduced to the president then and met him. And I have this, picture with him now. And that was very, very funny, my reaction.
Oh, goodness. Our nerves when we get nervous and we go oh, yeah, we're all cool and fun. They're like, ah.
I was like, whatever. It's no big deal. It's the president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So this is also where the information is all on details. You could have totally done the whole company thing and that would have been the truth, but it became the lie because of the lotions for the horses. And that did not happen. That could be the one that causes the lie. So now we have these two options of you being a champion, and I don't want to take that away from you, but so I really don't know. Ooh, I want to say that the lie then would be the lotions for and potions for the horses.
That's true.
See, yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yes. So we did I did have a company called the Mystic Woman, mm-hmm. and I had herbal oils and things, which I really want to bring them back because I can't find these oils anywhere, and they smell really great. And then my sister and I made we made 2 formulas for the horses. We actually made a fly spray, and we made another formula, and we sold the formulas.
Nice.
Yeah. So the lie is, while I do barrel race and while I do have some state championships, I never won a national title. Mm-hmm. with either of my horses. Although Trader did win, he was a reserve champion in the NBHA World Show. Mm-hmm. That was before I had him. So there's no national titles for mm-hmm. us. So that's where
very possible. Yes, the detail.
Possible. That's why I chose that one.
Yeah. Good. You did good. Well, so before we go, tell us what you're currently working on that you can tell us, because I love those NDAs, and what's currently coming up for you.
So many NDAs. So let's see. The process. Very excited about the process. Everyone love to have you guys. Oh God, Viviana, you have to come on until we can talk. Process and stuff. Creativity. So yeah, I'd love to have talk with you. So that's coming out. Very excited about it. The voiceover repertory company, if you guys want to check out you can go to vorep.net. That has a lot of our, whether you like sci-fi or we also have a really lovely story called Significant Deal about a very narcissistic actress and what happens to her. It's kind of a little Black Mirror-y. So if you guys want to listen to that, check that out. And everything else is pretty much under wraps. So yes, the lovely NDAs.
Yeah, but I'm sure if I can guess, you're going to be an alien at one point. You're going to be a really strong, charismatic lead, a bossy lady.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's going to be a British accent used somewhere.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. So some things are coming out soon. Like some things are going to be coming out like this month and, with it probably October, November, but a few that'll be out, a bunch next year. So
yeah. I cannot wait for all this stuff to come out. It's exciting. So thank you. But thank you so much for being my guest and hanging out with me. It's been so much fun.
Oh, Viviana, this was so much fun. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad that we finally got a chance to connect and do this. But if you're not following Tara on social media, I'm going to include all of her social media links so you can follow her and get all the goodies because she's really good about announcing when she has a new role. And so that way we can all be like, yay. And so that information will be found over at the episode's post over at Viviana Enchantress of Books. Thank you again so much for spending the time with me. And everyone, until next time, happy listenings.
Thank you to all of our Audiobook Lovin Podcast Patreon. The Audiobook Lovin Podcast has special Patreon access levels. Join today to receive benefits including early access to episodes, shout-outs, special exclusive content, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/audiobookloving. We thank you for your support.
Thank you for joining us on the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. For links and more information discussed in today's episode, previous podcasts, or the Audiobook Lovin Series, please visit our website, vivianaenchantressofbooks.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast. Until next time, happy listening.